it is really frustrating because I think as sensitive people, we have always felt like the world has tried to control us, tried to change us for sure, tried to stuff down our superpower. And they basically did not want to really see us because they don't want to see themselves. Hello, welcome back to my podcast. My name is Arielle, and this is Feeling My Feelings, where I finally feel my feelings after years of dissociating from them. And after years of honestly feeling ashamed of how highly sensitive I have always been. I used to pretend that I didn't really have super deep feelings because I didn't want to come off as not tough or not like I couldn't handle myself or something. But after a few years I realized like my sensitivity really is a superpower. So, I wanted to share today in this episode, like some of the things that I have felt that I've gone through as a highly sensitive person, some of the signs of being a highly sensitive person. And in general, I want to talk about how we can own that and use it to our advantage. And honestly, use it for a purpose, for our purpose. As a highly sensitive person, you are here for a reason. So let's get into it. So, first of all, you may feel like you're very sensitive to loud noises, bright lights, and a lot of environmental sort of things will overwhelm you. Another one of the huge signs is overwhelm when you're around other people, like picking up on their emotions. Sometimes I will say, I feel like I will be feeling an emotion. And honestly, I will feel like it wasn't mine. Like I'll be sitting next to a friend and maybe they have sadness and it transfers to me. But sometimes when it's a stranger, when it's someone I don't even know and I'm sitting next to them, I will feel what they're feeling. It's really interesting. And if you're into sort of spiritual woo-woo stuff, like some people call that clairsentience, which is being able to pick up intuitively on other people's feelings. I'd be sitting in class in high school with other people and I'd be trying to concentrate. There would be a teacher in front of me, we'd be in a lecture, but I couldn't help but randomly feel overwhelmed. And it was sometimes I was picking up on someone else's frustration around me. Like I also couldn't turn off someone else's energy and presence around me. I was always hyper aware of other people and their feelings. Also, sidebar, I identify as neurodivergent, specifically ADHD and autism. So I think it may resonate with you that a lot of us who have neurodivergence, we usually are highly sensitive. Also, I often felt like I picked up on social cues and I picked up on, the deeper meaning of what people were thinking or feeling. Like I could tell when someone was masking, even aside from the intuition piece of it. Like I sort of had more of an emotional attunement and I guess you could say maturity at a younger age. Other things, I felt like it was harder for me to control, to suppress, or, like it was harder for me to make my emotions less intense when I was younger. I tried to suppress it. And honestly, what ended up happening was I had to just cut it off. That's why I always talk about how I dissociated a lot when I was younger, because it had to be that extreme for me to deal with it. I felt so much overwhelm emotionally. I didn't even know what that meant when I was younger, but it felt like the only way to not let it overwhelm me and overtake me was to honestly shut off the feelings in my body. Also, This tends to happen. We tend to get overwhelmed, especially when we're in environments that do not nurture or accommodate for our sensitivity. So if you're having traumas going on, if you also have really emotionally unavailable or even dismissive or even abusive like family units, or if that was going on when you were growing up at all, then it was probably difficult for you to thrive as a sensitive person because you couldn't express that in a balanced way and not in a way that was accepted at all. So it might have been really confusing for your body to basically, like, if you're like me, when I was younger, I was always reacting. And I didn't know how to not do that. And my body was just so attuned. Like, I think as highly sensitive people, we have like a receptor, we have like an antenna that's always picking up on emotions and feelings. And what's hard for us is how to turn that off. This also goes for those environmental things too. So we might also always be aware of the things going on in the background. Like we might always be aware of noises and loud like sounds and of like bright lights and stuff. But I know for me, like, I didn't know why my sensitivity, my reactions were any different from anyone else's. And I feel like, also knowing that I'm neurodivergent now, that makes sense. But I feel like, just in general, I was born with this ability to have, this big receptive, like magnetic, almost like sort of superpower. I was able to hold a lot of sensitivity and be aware of it at the same time. And now that I look at it, that's okay. So you could be highly sensitive if you tend to feel like you take on emotions and it translates to health issues or to something that's actually going on in your body physically. I know for me, like, a lot of us who are highly sensitive, like, we tend to get digestive issues. It starts to, affect our stomachs. And we tend to feel very stressed out. Like maybe you get like skin rashes. Like there's all this, connection with your stress, with your brain, and how it shows up in your body. Also, for me, like I always talk about all my posture issues. I'm also hypermobile. So again, my body's got so much going on where it was just made like, hi, I'm so sensitive. Everything's gonna happen to me. Like, I'm gonna pick up on everything. It's been fun. But like, I have been finding that like my posture, I think a lot of us naturally, when we're stressed, we are very like stiff and heightened. And for me, like, that instantly translates to my body. My body is way too honest. And so, like, posture issues that lends to other health issues, like, it's gonna show up in our bodies when we feel really sensitive because by default we are taking in a lot. So other signs that you're highly sensitive actually have to do with the ways that we learn to cope even when we weren't actually told how to. So for me, I ended up isolating a lot. I ended up feeling like I was easily depleted and drained when I was around groups of people, when I was around my family, even though I ended up feeling like I was very introverted. I did enjoy being around other people. I really liked being social, but it just felt like it was physically difficult for me. And the other part of that was it almost felt very difficult to be grounded in myself and my own personal identity and my own feelings almost when I was around other people because I was such a sponge. I'm also like an empath. There's a few words we could use here, but empath, introverts, highly sensitive. I was all of those things. And so it felt like I needed longer periods of time to be by myself and almost to not just recharge, but to find my own energy again. It felt like I was always getting ungrounded around other people. As highly sensitive people, unfortunately, we often get misunderstood. We're probably told that we are too sensitive. So maybe that was the first indication that told you that you were highly sensitive. But we also probably felt like, you know, we thought that we were picking up on something that other people weren't. We probably saw that something was going on in somebody. We wanted to address it. We were empathetic to them. And we often felt like we were the only people in the room that wanted to do that. Or alternatively, it was like we were just the only person in the room that noticed or even cared. And oftentimes, when we deal with emotions, when people look or think about like hard emotions, we want to shove it aside because we all feel ashamed about our emotions. So, as people with high sensitivity, it does feel like our high sensitivity is unfortunately not taken well. It feels like it's quote unquote a problem. Like, I think it is frustrating because a lot of the times when people find that I'm highly sensitive, they will kind of look at me and go like, "Oh no, that's okay. Like don't worry. Don't worry that you have this defect." Or it's fine. Just tell me how you need me to accommodate to you. Or, they'll use phrases. They'll say things like, "I know that you get upset easily," or "I know that, I have to be careful what I say to you." And all of that makes you feel, first of all, dismissed. It also makes you feel misunderstood because if you're like me, at some point in your life, you might have realized, like, I am the only one in most of my environments that picks up on the fact that y'all are not dealing with your emotional problems. And this is causing all of your problems. And so you're going to feel like you are undervalued. You're going to feel like, that other people are going to blow your sensitivity way out of proportion because they don't want to deal with theirs. And unfortunately, here's another thing. You're probably going to feel like people are projecting onto you. So the moment you seem slightly sensitive, they're going to try to overprotect you or try to shut you down, or they're going to try to manipulate you, or they're going to do whatever because they don't want to face that part of them either. And so it is really frustrating because I think as sensitive people, we have always felt like the world has tried to control us, tried to change us for sure, tried to stuff down our superpower. And they basically did not want to really see us because they don't want to see themselves. So, as sensitive people, you might feel like, honestly, kind of like a lone wolf, or like you are honestly, the only one of your kind around you. And it can feel so isolating by default. Like, it could feel like you're an alien sometimes. But here's the thing, I think a lot of us are sensitive. Some of us just have different degrees of how much we can mask it. We have different environments that have allowed us to mask it better, to balance it better, or environments that have caused us to overreact so much that we are known as a sensitive, erratic, whatever type of person. And so, unfortunately, when you're a highly sensitive person, you tend to feel like oftentimes you do more of the emotional work because most people, again, are not like most of the world, most humans aren't taught to pay as much attention to their sensitivity, to their emotions, and they're not taught to be more emotionally available. They think that they have to be very, very efficient, very work oriented, very achievement oriented, and any feelings at all are inefficient. They don't do anything. They basically disrupt any improvements that you can make in your life. So unfortunately, it feels like we are underappreciated, and it feels like we have relationships that are not reciprocal. It feels like whenever we talk to people, there's parts of it where, a lot of people aren't open to it. It feels like you are the only one, in the room who really cares. I think I just said that, but I already said that. But in general, again, you're not alone as a sensitive person. And it's really important that you exist. Here is why being sensitive is so important. Why it is awesome. Why everybody needs to just cool it. Because, hi, we are the solutions to most things. Okay? So first of all, also, here are some positive traits. Here are some positive signs of a sensitive person that I think a lot of us, again, overlook. So, firstly, we are really great healers, intuitive, empathic, nurturing healers. We're the type of people that would be great in situations where highly emotionally charged things, we hold space for that, where not a lot of people can say that they can. So obviously, that's in therapy, in coaching, in the arts. Like, very sensitive people, when channeled and when we're allowed to believe that it's important, we could be great actors, speakers, creators, artists, intuitives, psychics, honestly. Like, as a very sensitive person, you are also more able to access your intuition. I know recently for me, I've been thinking about how I've transitioned into getting a life coach certification. And I've been thinking about how, is this practical? Is this going to be good for me? And I keep falling back to this idea that I'm like, oh, but it's something I'd be probably better at than a lot of the things I've tried before, but I don't know if it's going to work out. And it's like, I think a lot of us doubt that our sensitivity, using our sensitivity and our intuition will actually be a strong foundation for our lives. When in reality, if something's your strength, someone's going to find that valuable. And then you're going to create value. So you're allowed to use your sensitivity. In case no one has reminded you lately, you're allowed to use your sensitivity. You're allowed to live it. You're allowed to be proud of it. You're allowed to be so confident in it that you recognize that it's something valuable that you can bring to other people. And even if it's not just for other people, you're allowed to be sensitive for you. As highly sensitive people, we often find that we can get overwhelmed easily. We may overthink, and of course, we may have bigger emotions and reactions than other people. And it's been so frustrating for me in my life to have to prove that just because I have all those traits that I'm not a problem. And something that I've been finding is I overthink and I overreact because the moment I see something that emotionally doesn't make sense, if I see something is wrong, my body is like, duh, hello, alarm. My body is essentially one huge sensitivity alarm. And so when it sees something that is out of place, my body is like, that's bad. That's bad. And honestly, is it bad to have a body that reacts to things appropriately and doesn't easily suppress it and can't easily lie when something is not right? This is something I've been fighting in myself. Like, essentially, I've considered my body too honest. And my body has way too much integrity to do anything dishonest or not in alignment with itself. That goes for most humans, but as very highly sensitive people, our bodies can't lie. And so, unfortunately, when we're in environments that are not in alignment or that just don't respect or honor our sensitivity, if we're in environments where that can't thrive, our inner body alarm, those like emotional receptors are just going to go haywire, and we're gonna end up overreacting, being dysregulated, not knowing how to take care of that, not being with people who understand that. And we're going to end up going into our minds, trying to problem solve it, not knowing the solution other than, wait, I have to feel it. And I know for me, it's been so frustrating because I'll often find, I'm trying to self-soothe. I think it's really important that we learn, coping strategies for when we get into this sort of imbalance. But for me, at least, it always comes back to this idea that I really just had to let myself feel it. And I couldn't deny my body of that need to feel. And once I trusted myself enough to feel something without feeling like I was a problem for feeling that, I ended up finding that that was the solution. And then I was able to at least leave the situation there or pause the situation and then move on. I think if we just keep thinking that it's a problem that we have feelings at all, it's going to turn into more problems. So yeah, it is very important that we stop pretending that sensitivity is wrong. Okay, so I think you get the gist. You probably by now are like, yeah, I'm very highly sensitive. So what do I do with it now? I I know I walked through a couple of things already, but let me just say that as someone who is now accepting her sensitivity, I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to pretend that I'm not anymore. So first thing is, yeah, let's lean into it. Let's start to accept it. And anyone in the world right now, I think most of us have learned how to suppressed emotions. Like, I think most of us have learned how to be rigid. We've learned that we are supposed to be more structured. We learned that we are supposed to, just put on a happy face and just be positive. So I think we have that down. Now we get to learn how to balance ourselves out. So let's bring in more balance. Be honest with yourself. What are you not doing in order to honor your sensitivity? How are you suppressing your sensitivity? Take a moment and just reflect on, what are some of the aspects of me that I'm not allowing to breathe? I know for me, I had a lot of blocks to expression because, I liked writing, I liked singing and music, and technically I would try to do it, but I approached it so technically, so achievement oriented, because I thought I should only be doing this if it makes money, or if it's an achievement, or if it's impressive. So what I wasn't allowing myself was that actual presence with my sensitivity, with that expression, with that art. So are you actually allowing yourself to be present, to feel the things that you want to do? Or are you doing things just with your mind, just with a goal in mind? Are you being present and feeling into your own expression? Are you allowing yourself time to be sensitive? Like, literally, are you allowing yourself to cry or to have a moment to feel? Sometimes, it's important. And in the moment, some situations, we can't afford that. But if you do have time, which I think we can all carve out some time, are you able to express yourself? I know for me, it really helps to record things like this podcast, to speak to myself, to journal, to obviously talk to a therapist, like to let myself just cry, let myself blow off steam when I'm going through something highly emotional. And then after that, I can do whatever coping strategy I need to feel better. But I just think for me, I have always just needed time for my body to process things the way that it feels like it needs to. And I think your body gets dysregulated when it has been suppressed for so long. And I found that I have had so many big reactions and I have felt so imbalanced and unhealthy for most of my life. And I know everyone kind of says this, but it's the truth. Honestly, all I needed to do was rest and to just listen to myself and my body. I think, especially as a sensitive person, even other people's well meaning suggestions for you, even spending time with a lot of people, your energy is not theirs. And you might be trying to operate the same way they do, but you might find that you really have to listen to your exact body's needs and how it wants to express its sensitivity. So, again, for me, sometimes I just need to be alone. Sometimes I just know in myself that I have to sit and listen to my body and to feel into it. And that's harder when I have so much noise from other people. So, another thing as a highly sensitive person, we tend to get in relationships, whether that's friendships, romantic relationships, with people who either are taking advantage of our high emotions and sensitivity, or people that just don't meet us emotionally. And oftentimes for me, I found that I was attracted to that because in some ways it was sort of like, oh, someone's finally recognizing me. And in other ways, I also feel like I'm just kind of wanting to help somebody because I'm sort of projecting or I see something in them that I've seen in myself. And so it is important that in romantic relationships, in friendships, that they are more reciprocal. I mean, give and take, not everyone's going to match the level of emotional availability and sensitivity and time and care. And that's typical for everybody. But I know for me, I've had a pattern of this over the years where I would get into romantic relationships. I get frustrated. I feel depleted. I would lose myself, not feel grounded in my identity. And my whole relationship was like, well, I was really empathic and I helped this guy. And it would be really valuable for them. And I would feel like, oh, thank God, like someone's recognizing that I have this superpower, that I am really sensitive. But, you know, I'd always have that little bit of like, well, I'm not getting this back, which is very classic for typical, like if you're a female, like dating a man type of relationship. But it's true. Like oftentimes we overwork emotionally and we don't need to. So I think instead of, first of all, we get to decide like, all right, if I am depleted, if someone isn't meeting me emotionally, we get to, let them take care of ourselves and we've got to take care of us. And also, I think before we jump into a next relationship, we get to think about, well, what's my standard of how sensitive or like how do I want someone to show up? You get to say they should show up similar to me. They need to be reciprocal in these ways. So I think it is okay, and you don't have to fall into the trap of thinking that this is how it's always going to be. No. So you get to attract different. Also, this is what I'm going through right now. It's going to feel a little bit weird to readjust to different because you might be balancing out. You might not know what you need yet. So give yourself time, experiment with it, but you don't have to get stuck in unequal, like emotionally unavailable relationships and friendships forever. And you could also send those people love. You could have some sort of relationship with them. You can even work on it with them. But just know that it'll always come down to you have needs that need to be met, and especially as a sensitive person, it could be really easily to overgive. So make sure that you have people who are also givers back. So if you are feeling isolated, feeling lonely, feeling like there is not a soul in the world that you can trust, hello, my friend. I have been there. I am trying not to live there anymore. And so for me, it has been really frustrating that I have had this long-standing limiting belief that I just still do not trust people, or at least that I don't trust people to do anything more than basically like do whatever they need to satisfy their ego or to impress other people. Or I don't trust people to not act insecure or to manipulate. And the thing is this is too true in the world. And as a sensitive person, you probably have ended up being very empathic. You've probably ended up being in situations with people who control and manipulate. You may have ended up becoming a people pleaser, because how else are you going to survive the other people like that? Just know, it is hard not to gaslight yourself into thinking that you are weak, that you should not trust yourself. So it's really important that even if you're in that state right now, I am in a time of transition where I'm trying to not have that sort of identity anymore, like not the victim identity. Like I have been trying to transition out of that. And what I've been finding is it's been hard not to gaslight myself into convincing myself that I am the identity that other people wanted me to be, essentially. So as a sensitive person, and honestly, I'm really also talking to the empaths here in this video, like as a sensitive person, it's gonna feel like a lot of frustration and anger and bitterness to people in general in the world. And for me, I have on and off always been stuck in this state of not wanting to be around people. And I think for me, I've been trying to build up self-trust first. And I've been trying to sort of accept other people at the same time, which you should, but that's really kind of come from building your own self-trust first. So I think it's important to look at maybe those hard relationships, past ways that you've reacted, and really validate the fact that this is how I had to be to survive. But my identity does not have to be that survival identity anymore. I do not need to identify as a victim all the time. I don't have to identify as the identity that this person gave me in order to make me more convenient for them. I know, again, as honestly, I'm speaking more to the empaths here, but the highly sensitive people and the empath people, we were not convenient for many people around us because they did not want to deal with their own sensitive shit. And so we ended up being the problem in their eyes. This has happened to me most of my life. It gets better, and not everyone's gonna be like that. So we get to relearn our identities. You get to take back your identity. So take back your power, of course, but also take back how you think of yourself. It was unfortunate. It was unfortunate that you had to be labeled that way, that you had to be thought of that way. You don't have to anymore. It is really important that when we have started to build our self-trust, and also even before that, honestly, like that we have people we can reach out to who understand and respect and can even help us nurture our sensitivity. So that can be our therapist, our coach. Honestly, there are meetups for people who, even if it's not like for highly sensitive people, if you're like, you could join a meetup based on like healing from heartbreak, like dealing with overwhelm. Like all of these people have some sort of sensitivity that they are admitting to. The world is all sensitive. It's just the people that identify as highly sensitive are the ones that could not mask it as easily. And also the ones that are just naturally, really good at sensitivity. So it's important that, like, I know for me, now that I am like diving into communities of people who have also felt this way, like, it's very interesting. Like, I am in my life coach certification program. There's a ton of us who are like very empathic, very sensitive, and have felt like, honestly, some sort of loneliness or even black sheep, even if we weren't like turning towards destructive behaviors. And also, sidebar, if you have, like, I know a lot of people who have had addictions, had some sort of, things that were hard that happened in their lives. And that was a result of being so sensitive that they needed something, they needed to do something. They ended up reacting in a certain way because they didn't know how to deal with their sensitivity. And that's okay. And so there will be people there who understand you as well. So let's find environments and people who understand. I know it's frustrating, and I think it's really sad when you realize, like, I know this is what I'm kind of going through, that some of the people in your life that you may want to open up more or to be more emotionally available or to see you differently, some point in your life they may, and they may think of it differently. But at the moment, you really got to take care of yourself. And so, you can meet them where they're at. They'll do what they need to, but you get to find other people who meet you at where you're at. It's really interesting because as I've like met more really sensitive people, like, again, this like program that I'm in, it's just like a whole class of people who are all like, yeah, I felt like I could pick up on emotions really easily, or like I really need to stop and like recharge. And I'm like, whoa, this is all a bunch of me's like deciding to do the same thing. And I had the thought of like, wow, is this like a cult? Is this like allowed? Like, is this, and I kept having these thoughts of like, this is bad somehow, right? Like, and then I was like, no, this makes complete sense because people who feel similar to us are going to end up being, in my case, are going to end up doing things like life coaching or being intuitive or being around people that are healers or becoming some sort of healing artistic person. So naturally, the places that you are attracted to, so whether that be like music or arts or coaching or therapy or wellness of some sort, there's gonna be people there who relate to you that may have a similar story. So trust in the fact that you will not be the only one that sticks out, and there's gonna be people who recognize and understand you. And also, alternatively, it's okay to accept the fact that there will be people who will continue to not want to understand your sensitivity, again, because they don't want to understand their own. We are all sensitive people. And as the world is right now, most of our issues are as a result of only wanting to be perfect at things. Like, most of our problems are we are burnt out. We're not able to see the value in, we're way too much overemphasizing achievements. Like, we're in competition. We're basically always masking our emotional needs. And that is why people don't become emotionally mature enough to adequately show up for other people, to adequately do their jobs, to adequately have a healthy, balanced relationship. The reason why problems happen is because people aren't self-aware of how to nurture and take care of their own emotions. And as a sensitive person, you have the ability to hold so much space for emotions. And so that is so important. And so you'll find that as you grow, as you own it, you're going to be able to help solve problems, within your relationships. You're going to be able to hold healthier relationships. You're going to be able to be a more empathic, emotionally intelligent leader in your workplace, in your life, in your own businesses. I know that, what's interesting is at the end of the day, people are going to want people who make them feel good about themselves. So even though it sucks, I know this is something for me. I realized that it was almost like my sacrifice for my life was no one was there to make me feel better about me, but I was able to take up, to hold so much space for other people. And eventually, right now, I'm learning how to care about myself, that the capacity of my body and my being to do that is gonna end up being really important and powerful for other people in ways that not everybody else can do. So, y'all, we in this. It's gonna turn into a thing. Just let it. This is what I'm telling myself too. This is important. You are important. Other people are just so shut down. Okay? In the world we live in right now, it is so important. Go be sensitive. Go be sensitive. Go make stuff. Whatever it is, you're probably gonna do something. You're creative in some way. Okay, someone's gonna want to hear your expression in some way. Your emotions, even when they're big, if you put that into like social media, someone's gonna resonate. That's gonna click. Someone's gonna need to hear your big emotions. I know for me, every time I have had big reactions or something, I don't want to feel so dysregulated anymore, but once I have spoken up on something, it's usually that I was the only one who could have. In a sea of people who are like, yeah, but I can't feel. And I was the only one that did. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. So we can solve the problem now. And it's like the things we could do once we own it. Y'all. Okay. Well, anyway. Is there anything else I could say? I think that's it for right now. But anyway, I hope you take care of yourselves. Peace and love. Bye-bye. Okay. Okay, here we go. Doop, 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 doop.